Next witness.
The state would call Kimberly, if I pronounce this one last name correctly, Wroblewski.
All right, good morning, ma'am. Come on up. You're going to come right around the court reporter to my right, to your left. Please be careful as you go up the ramp. Go all the way around. There you go. And when you get to the top, then I want you to stand and raise your right hand, please.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated. Ma'am, if you could pull that microphone up, speak directly into it.
Ma'am, if you could say your first and last name and spell both, please.
Kimberly Wroblewski, Kimberly Wroblewski.
And how are you employed?
I work for the Department of Justice at the State Crime Laboratory in Madison.
And how long have you been employed there?
24 years.
I'm going to show you what's been marked. Thank you. As Exhibit 386. Do you recognize that exhibit?
Yes, I do.
And what exact is that exhibit?
This is my statement of qualifications.
And did you prepare your statement of qualifications?
Yes, I do.
And is this something that you provide to the state in matters prior to your testimony?
Yes.
And just very briefly, can you talk about the qualifications for conducting your job, or for doing your job at the crime lab?
I have a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. I have a Master of Science degree from the University of New Haven in Forensic Science. I have also gone through a 9-month training program at the crime laboratory. It included all of our screening techniques and identifying biological stains such as blood, semen, or saliva. I went through our extraction, quantitation, amplification, and STR typing. I also performed numerous mock cases and proficiency tests prior to being allowed to work casework. And we are required to receive continuing education 8 hours every year after we've become a senior analyst. I also go through proficiency testing twice a year.
And at this point, I would move Exhibit 386 into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Be received.
Now, as part of your duties at the Wisconsin State Crime Lab, did you receive some samples from another member of the State Crime Laboratory for testing in a case involving the death of Crystal A. Rasch?
So in this case, a part of my duties as a DNA analyst also include technical review. Each case we are required to have another qualified DNA analyst technically review our work, look at our notes, our report, review our statistics, our conclusions, and make sure that the original analyst is following policies and procedures. So that is what I did in this case. I did not receive items directly. I did technical review for another analyst who did the actual analysis on the items.
And who was that other analyst?
Kelly Gajewski.
And just so the record is clear, the defense has agreed to allow you to testify in the place of Kelly Gajewski because she's not available, correct?
That's correct.
But did you, for the case of Crystal A. Rasch, did you also do some DNA testing, just not of specific items?
Yes, I did.
So I want to first show you exhibits 387 through 393. And if you could just review all of those exhibits and let me know when you are completed.
Okay, yes.
And do you recognize all of those exhibits?
Yes, I do.
And what are those exhibits?
So exhibit 387.
I guess let me ask it generally. Are those a mixture of reports and photos that were prepared by the Wisconsin State Crime Lab?
Yes, they are.
I would move exhibit 387 through 393 into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Received.
And then permission to publish those.
They will be published.
And so now we can talk about, we'll start with 387. What is 387?
That is the report that I issued on January 23rd of 2025.
So this is actually the most, when we go in date-wise, the sort of old, or the newest report, the last report that was issued in this case.
I think it was the second to last report.
The, in this case, we first had to develop a DNA profile of the victim, correct?
Correct.
And how did we develop the DNA profile of the victim, Crystal Rasch, in this case?
A toothbrush was submitted, and based on case information, it was reasonable to assume that Crystal used this toothbrush. Kelly subsequently developed a single source female DNA profile from the toothbrush. So it was reasonable to assume that this was her DNA profile, and it was reported that this would be used as her DNA standard for the case.
And then did you also later do something secondary to confirm that DNA profile?
Yes.
And so is that represented here in this report?
Yes, it is.
And what was the secondary testing that you did to confirm that profile?
A DNA standard was submitted to the lab from Bryson Rasch, as well as Zachariah Rasch. So I used those standards to do a paternity statistic. Basically, with those profiles that were developed, the DNA profile developed from Bryson Rasch is consistent with being a DNA profile of a biological child from Zachariah Rasch and the donor of the DNA profile on the toothbrush. So the donor of the DNA profile from the toothbrush is consistent with or is included as being a biological mother of Bryson. And statistically, given that Zachariah Rasch is the biological father of Bryson, it's at least 1 quadrillion times more likely that the DNA profile from Bryson is a biological child of Zachariah and the donor of the DNA profile from the toothbrush versus another unknown, unrelated mother.
So we use that term, we're going to be using these numbers sometimes, quadrillion and then consistent with. And so when we say quadrillion, how do we get these numbers and statistics when we're talking about DNA?
So we'll go step back a little bit and talk about genetics. We each have 23 pairs of chromosomes. We inherit half from our mother and half from our father. These chromosomes contain segments of DNA that I look at as a DNA analyst. And this is the DNA that's inherited and passed through the lineage. So when I perform statistics, I am able to look at the number of times that this, the inherited DNA or the DNA profile would be observed in the population. So we perform statistics on each of those inherited segments of DNA and then end up, it compounds on itself and ends up becoming quite a large number.
And is it fair to say when we use this term quadrillion times more likely to observe the profile, that that's a very regulated term and statistical analysis by both the crime lab and the DNA community when we can use those statistical terms?
Yes.
So I'm showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 394. Can you identify that exhibit?
Yes, I can. This is a white envelope that has the crime lab pre-printed barcode label with the case number R241767 item N.
And does that show that that is the swab that you received in that case for Bryson?
Yes, that is what the Dodge County Sheriff's Office pre-printed barcode label says.
And I did just while you were speaking, cut that open. So it was previously sealed with evidence tape and marked. And I just, is this what it looks like when you get it from the sheriff's office?
Yes.
And then what's inside of here?
I would have to look if there's 1 or 2 swabs. I could refer to Kelly's notes about it, or if you can tell.
It looks like if we look through, and there's some gloves too if you want to hold it yourself.
There are 2 swabs present in the evidence tape sealed box.
And so when we say swabs, what does that mean? What would that look like on the other end?
It's like a large Q-tip. It's a wooden stick that is about this long, maybe 4 inches, and then a cotton swab on the other end.
And what do you do then with that cotton swab when you perform analysis?
We cut a small sliver of the cotton swab off and place it into a tube. We then add some reagents to the tube to release the DNA and the saliva, the skin cells from the cotton, and then break open the actual cells to allow the DNA to be in the tube. We then clean it using some reagents, and then it goes through the process of quantitation, which determines how much DNA is present in that sample. It then goes on to be amplified if there is enough DNA. So when I was talking about those small segments of DNA, we are looking at a number of those small fractions, and during the amplification process, we make many, many copies of the profile or the DNA that we specifically need to look at. The amplified DNA then goes through the capillary electrophoresis machine, and we get a DNA profile from those samples.
So, moving on now to, and I would move Exhibit 394 into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Proceed.
And just to clarify, is that the process that you explained that you did with the swab and 394, is that the same process that you would use receiving a swab from any individual? That same process we carry through for testing of DNA on that swab?
Yes, that's correct.
So now, and just to be clear on report number 9, which is Exhibit 387, that was a 3-page document, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Pages 2 and 3, what are contained on those pages just generally? Is it-
That's our technical appendix that accompanies every report on each case.
Okay. So now I want to go to when we talk about the, we'll get to the report about the toothbrush, but when we examined the toothbrush, did we use a similar process as with Bryson's, or how did we do the toothbrush evaluation?
So Kelly received the actual toothbrush, and then she used a swab to swab the end of the bristle end that would go into your mouth, and then collected the DNA sample that way.
And what did she use to compare that swab from the toothbrush to? And I think if we could just go there, that's Exhibit 391.
So the laboratory also received a report from another laboratory that did DNA analysis on some bones, the Petrus pyramid. Kelly, our laboratory analyst, used the DNA profile that she developed from the toothbrush and compared that to the DNA profile developed by Bode from the bones.
And I'm going to show you what has been marked Exhibit 88. And you probably want me to, I'll let you open it because you want to use different gloves each time, correct?
I do.
I'll do that too. And why is that important to use different gloves every time?
We want to make sure that we don't transfer DNA from one item of evidence to another item of evidence. We want to make sure that we're looking at each one with fresh veg paper. We've cleaned all of our tools, and we're using fresh gloves.
Okay. So in 88, what are we looking there in evidence number 88? State's evidence number 88.
This is a toothbrush that Kelly has labeled with a zip tie. The case R24-1767, item L.
And so she would give that zip tie, what is that an indication of?
It's So we also label each item of evidence that we examine so we can identify it in court if necessary, sometimes at a much later date. In this case, she did not want to write on the actual toothbrush, so she used a zip tie as a method of labeling it.
And is it sometimes important too if someone else has to testify in your place for whatever reason?
Yes, it absolutely is.
And then on the outside of that packaging as well, is there, you can put the toothbrush back in now, is there a sticker on the outside that indicates that it is was received at the crime lab and tested by Kelly at the crime lab?
Yes, it has our pre-printed case label, barcode label with the case number R241767, and Kelly's initials are on the label as well.
And does that, all those numbers match up with the information that we see in Exhibit 391?
Yes.
And again, when we matched up the profile developed from the toothbrush, matching that up with the profile developed from the bone sample received from Bode Technologies, were we able to say that we had developed a profile consistent with Crystal Rasch?
Yes, the profile from the bones does state that it was a partial profile, but a single source, female, and that it was consistent with the DNA profile developed from the toothbrush.
And the fact that it was a partial profile, is that another reason why we did that secondary family testing, just to make sure that there were no issues down the line in this case?
Yes.
Okay, so now if we can move back to, did I take that back from you here? I'll take Exhibit 88 back from you. And we'll move back to Exhibit 388. This is report number 5, dated August 9th, 2024, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And what was tested in this report?
There was item A1, A2, A3, item I, J, and L.
And what were those items?
Item A1, A2, and A3 were stains collected on swabs from a 2023 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross with the license plate AUH4251. Item I was a buccal swab standard reportedly recovered from Zachariah Rasch. Item J was a buccal swab standard reportedly recovered from Brenda Acosta Huffman. And item L was the toothbrush that we just looked at.
So the item A1, A2, A3, when we get swabs from testing in an area of a vehicle, are those similar swabs than we would when we are getting a buccal sample from an individual, or do they look different?
No, they are the same types of swabs.
Is the process utilized by the lab the same for the testing or something different?
The process is the same.
So starting with sample, does the lab test each sample individually then? So A1 first individually?
So sometimes we can group samples together in the same extraction set. They are each sample is in its own tube, its own separate extraction, but maybe Like in this case, she might have put the stain from the swab A1 in its own tube A1, the stain from the swab A2 in its own, a cutting of that in its own tube A2. The same with the stain collected on the swab A3. Then she would take a sample of that, place it in its own tube A3. And then we also at this point include an additional sample. It's called a reagent blank. So then this extraction set would have 4 samples, the 3 evidentiary items, each being extracted and analyzed separately. But then the additional reagent blank, that is a control that we incorporate into extractions to make sure that our reagents are clean, that there's no DNA profile developed from the reagent blank, that nothing is contaminating the evidence.
And so when testing A1, what did the testing, well, let me show you this first. When testing, would you have been aware of where those swabs were collected?
Yes, in this case, she was, and after reviewing her notes, I am aware, yes.
So A1, where was that collected from?
That was collected from the lower door frame of the front passenger of the 2023 Mitsubishi.
And so after doing that testing, what did that testing reveal?
That was also tested presumptively positive for blood. And then
I'm just going to pause 1 second just to remind, we just saw that this morning, but I'm just showing exhibit 328, which is a photo of where the sample was collected. And I'll just put that for you, but I'm sorry, continue, go on.
Yes, it was tested presumptive positive for blood, and then a DNA profile was developed from that. It was a single source female profile and consistent with the DNA profile from Crystal Rasch.
So would you always test for blood in these circumstances, or are there circumstances where you would not test for blood?
There are some circumstances that we may not test for blood. If the sample is very limited, if it's a small amount, we don't want to use up some of that sample in presumptive testing for biological stains. Sometimes we just want to save all of it for the DNA analysis.
And then in this case, was sample A1, and in the report it's listed as A1A. What does that mean, A1A?
So the initial swab that was taken of the staining on the door frame, that swab was A1, but then Kelly took a small cutting of that swab, and then at that point those 2 samples are separated from each other. So they have different chains of custody. The swab, the original swab, gets placed back in the packaging, and that remains item A1. But the cutting then, because that goes, through the robotic process, then it has its own chain of custody. We have to sub-designate it and call it A1A.
So was A1A then compared to the profile of Zachariah Rasch?
Yes, it was.
And what were the results of that testing?
He was excluded as a donor of that DNA profile.
And then it looks like it was also tested against Brenda Acosta Hoffman.
Yes.
And so why would we compare it to that individual?
So once DNA profiles, either evidentiary or standards, are developed, we then use all of the standards to compare back to any of the evidentiary item profiles developed in the case. So she was also eliminated or excluded as a donor of that DNA profile.
And then going back to the A1A in the comparison with Crystal Rasch, you stated that it was consistent, correct?
Correct.
And was there a probability of consistency in this analysis?
Yes. Part of our policy is that we can't just say that somebody is included or excluded. If we say that somebody is included as a possible donor, we have to give statistical weight to it to, kind of convey the strength of that inclusion. And so in this case, the probability of randomly selecting the observed profile from a population of unrelated individuals is not more frequent than 1 in 1 quadrillion.
Now, when we look at, there's a chart at the top of the page, if we can just move up, it indicates that there is on A1A, there's male DNA present, and then there's an indication that it's limited. So what would that designation mean there?
That's part of our quantitation process. It has the ability to determine how much human DNA is present and then in the sample and how much male DNA is present in that same sample. In this case, there was some male DNA detected, but it was a very small amount. So it indicates, like based on our validation, that it's not unreasonable to not see a mixture in this case or any of the male profile generated.
Because in all three, A1, A2, and A3, we only have single source profile, correct?
That's correct.
Well, I guess A1 and A3, because I think in A2 there was not enough for testing. Is that correct? For male. No, for A1, A2, and A3, there was sufficient DNA for testing all single source profile, correct?
Correct.
So now moving on to A2, do you know where that sample was from?
That was collected from the front passenger seatbelt.
And I'm showing exhibit 333. And what did the testing on that reveal?
That was also presumptive positive for blood, and the DNA profile developed was a single source female profile consistent with Crystal Rasch. And the same statistics were also applied. The probability of randomly selecting the observed DNA profile from a population of unrelated individuals is not more frequent than 1 in 1 quadrillion.
And then A3, where was that collected from?
That was collected from the passenger side, I believe, one of the air vents.
Yep. So I'm showing exhibit 338. And what did the testing on that sample reveal?
Well, as we talked about a little bit ago, sometimes we do not do presumptive testing for the biological fluids. This is an instance that happened. It was the swab that was used to collect the sample was only very faintly stained reddish brown. Kelly decided that she did not want to use any of that sample for the screening of blood. She wanted to save it for DNA analysis. So she didn't do any screening testing on that, but there was a single source female profile developed that is consistent with Crystal Rasch, and the same statistics apply. Would not observe this profile more frequently than 1 in 1 quadrillion.
With respect to report number 5, dated August 9th, 2024, any other DNA testing reflected within this report?
No.
So now, and then so page 3 and 4 of the report is again that technical appendix, correct?
Correct.
So now we put in a couple of pictures here. This was previously marked 356. Actually, we'll come back to those pictures. We'll go straight to the report first, Exhibit 390. And this is report number 6, dated October 22nd, 2024, correct?
That's correct.
And what items were tested in this report?
Item A5 was a vape pen. Item B1, a detergent bottle. Item B2, a Hoover carpet cleaner. And item D, a Taurus G2C handgun, the serial number AEE460186.
First, was there blood testing, presumptive blood testing done on these items?
On some of the items.
So what items was presumptive blood testing done on?
The Taurus handgun, and blood was not detected on that item. And then presumptive positive testing was from the detergent bottle and the Hoover carpet cleaner.
So going to now exhibit that was previously marked 356, we'll put that back on the screen, and if we could just zoom in there on that handle. And we did see this earlier, but if we could just shut off the lights briefly, Judge, and then we can turn them back on. As I know we talked about this during Trevor's testimony. Right here in the center of the handle, I'm pointing with my finger, is that where it was tested for blood?
Yes.
And I'm going to show you. What's marked as 382. And if you can just pull that out and tell me if you see any markings on that that indicated that that was tested.
Yes, it does have the case R24-1767, item B1, dated and initialed by Kelly on the bottom of the bottle.
And then does it show, is there any writing on the handle, or
There is not any writing on the handle.
did her notes reflect where she swabbed?
Yes.
Okay, and the notes reflect where was the swabbing done based on the notes?
The notes, she noted that she swabbed the red-brown stain that was present on the handle. I think it was about 3/4 of an inch long by only a couple of millimeters wide.
And you can see that red-brown staining in the photo, correct?
Yes.
And now looking with your eyes on the detergent bottle, is the staining present on that handle any further?
It is not. She did make note of that in her notes as well, that she swabbed the entire stain.
I'll just go on the bottom here. And I'll just walk past the jury here so they can see no further staining. So was DNA testing performed on this item?
Yes, it was.
And what were the results of that DNA testing? So this would be item B1, correct?
Yes, and then the swab was B1A. So she did attempt to extract the DNA from that red-brown stain, and then she did quantitation on it, and it yielded a present amount of human DNA, but it was very limited. And then the male DNA was determined to be inconclusive. So it was below our threshold. It was basically determined to be unsuitable for any DNA typing.
So what types of things can impact the ability to get a suitable amount of DNA? I guess I should say, what types of things can break down DNA?
There's a number of things, environmental factors such as heat, direct sunlight, enzymes present in soil, the physical washing of an item and water running over. Another thing would be detergent. We actually use, that's part of our reagent that we use to clean and break down the DNA, are very mild detergents. So that is some of the items or some of the things that can cause the breakdown of DNA.
So when we swabbed for or tested for the blood, could that testing break down the DNA, or we're doing two different swabs?
I believe, I'd have to refer to my notes, but I believe she took one swab of the stain on the bottle and then cut just a sliver of the stain from the swab to test it with phenolphthalein testing. So they were separate tests, but then the second part is know that phenolphthalein testing does not break down DNA. But in this instance, they were separate samples.
So the phenolphthalein testing, so does detergent break down blood or affect the phenolphthalein testing?
No. Detergents can break down blood and the components of blood. If they are abrasive enough, they can also break down the cellular membrane, and then the cells break open. It can also break down the actual DNA, the chromosome structures of the DNA. But I forget the second part of your question.
So there was just one part. So the really the question is, we get positive for on the phenolphthalein for blood, but
Correct.
not enough DNA. I guess, I think you answered it, but why could we get one and not the other?
Yes, it's possible that the detergent broke down the structure, the cellular material or the structures of the DNA to not be able to get a DNA profile, but phenolphthalein isn't actually testing the DNA, it's testing for another component in blood. So that did not get broken down by the detergent.
So now going to the Taurus, the firearm, there was no blood detected on the firearm, correct?
That's correct.
And the firearm was marked item D1, correct?
The
D.
firearm was item D, correct.
And then was there swabbing done of the firearm?
Yes, Kelly did swab, I believe, the end of the barrel and the inside of the barrel. She also tested that swab for phenolphthalein, and that was negative.
So I'm going to show you what has been marked as Exhibit 132. And is there looks like there's a Milwaukee Crime Lab sticker on this, correct?
Correct.
And you work for the Madison Crime Lab, correct?
Correct.
But is there some indication that you would have also received that?
Yes, Kelly's initials are over that barcode label.
So if you could just open that up, it's been previously opened, and show where the swabbing of the firearm would have been performed.
So I believe that she swabbed the end of the barrel here, or the end of the muzzle, and then she did put the swab into the barrel and actually stuck it in there a little bit and swabbed around the inside of the barrel and the end of the muzzle.
And then would she have swabbed, in this case, the handle or the trigger of the firearm at all?
She did not in this case.
And do you know why that would not have been performed in this case?
I think it was based on the case circumstances and attempting to look for blood and DNA.
Inside the barrel of the gun, correct?
Yes.
So what things can break down DNA or blood within the barrel of a firearm?
Well, again, heat can also do that.
So if a firearm has been, so if it was fired subsequent to any blood being inside of the firearm, would that break down the DNA?
It's possible, yes.
What about if someone cleaned the firearm after firing it?
Yes, that is also possible. Either breaking down the DNA, if there is any there, or just physically removing it by the cleaning and the rubbing and brushing.
So in this case, was there DNA testing performed on the firearm?
Yes, there was.
And were we able to determine whose DNA was inside of the barrel of the firearm?
No, in this case, we could not determine that. There was a low-level partial mixture profile developed from that swabbing of the barrel and the end of the muzzle. It just was not suitable for comparisons to be made to that profile.
And in this case, is it fair to say, since the firearm was located inside the defendant's bedroom, that we would not have done DNA testing on the outside, the trigger and the handle portion of the firearm, or the external portion of the firearm, because there's an assumption that the defendant's DNA would be on the firearm in those circumstances, correct?
That's correct.
And does the crime lab have restrictions on the amount of DNA testing that can be performed, generally speaking?
Yes.
So we try to be judicious in what we test for DNA.
Objection leading.
The judge said overruled, so you can answer.
Yes, that's correct.
So now I want to go to, we'll start with the vape pen. So I'll show you Exhibit 389. Sorry, we admitted the physical vape pen. The physical one we did or we did not. Is that appear to be in Exhibit 389, does that appear to be a red vape pen in that photo?
Yes, it does.
And does it appear also to be a crime lab number consistent with is used in crime lab cases?
Yes.
So I'm going to show you what has previously been marked as Exhibit 381. And that was previously opened. And then inside, what do we see inside that exhibit?
The red and black vape pen.
And so what, if any, swabbing or testing was done for this item?
The mouth area was swabbed.
And so how do you know that the mouth area was swabbed?
That was documented in Kelly's notes.
Okay, you can put that back in the bag. The swabbing of the mouth area, was their DNA suitable for testing?
Yes, there was. And that ended up being a mixture of DNA from 2 individuals and at least 1 male.
And were we able to compare that with either of our known subjects?
Yes. Based on case information that Kelly had, she made the assumption that Zachariah Rasch was present on the vape pen. So the statistics that were performed are a little bit different than what I have presented up to this point, since this is a mixture of DNA. It was assumed that Zachariah was present, and then we try to determine who the other person of interest is present in the mixture. So the likelihood ratio is set up that H1 is Zachariah Rasch and the person of interest versus H2 being Zachariah Rasch and an unknown, unrelated individual. So we use 2 people of interest in this case, Crystal Rasch. That statistic was greater than 1 in 1 quadrillion. That shows very strong support for inclusion, that she is included in this mixture. And statistically, we can say it's at least 1 quadrillion times more likely to observe this DNA mixture if it results from Zachariah Rasch and Crystal Rasch than if it's a mixture resulting from Zachariah Rasch and an unknown, unrelated individual. The other person of interest that was compared was Brenda Acosta Huffman. That likelihood ratio ended up being 0. She is excluded as a possible contributor to this profile, and it is not possible to observe this DNA mixture if she was in H1.
So now going to item maybe B2, what item is that? Going back to the first page.
Sure. B2 was the Hoover carpet cleaner.
And that, did you receive that physical item? I guess I would say Kelly, but did the crime lab receive that physical item for testing?
Yes.
So first I'm going to go back and show some overview pictures. Just for, going back please. So what we have on the screen here is Exhibit 357. That's an overview after it was removed from the trunk, then going to the next exhibit, 358. Do you know what that is on the screen? Oh, I think did I put 358 in front of you too?
It is not in front of me, but that looks like the, I forget how Kelly worded it, the housing.
Is it your understanding from Kelly's report that that item was swabbed?
Yes, she described that as the liquid guard.
And if we can zoom in on this and maybe just lower the lights. Judge? We just lower the lights on this.
Sure.
Do you see any brown reddish substance there in that photo?
I actually cannot see any.
Okay, that's
Light
physical.
didn't help.
I'll get you this here. Can you see it in that photo?
Yes, I can.
So that's the physical printout of the photo, correct?
Correct.
And can you see some red brownish substance in the photo? And where is that most concentrated?
Yes, I can see the red brown staining, and it is. It looks like that would be the part that you would. That would be in contact with whatever you were cleaning, like the little vacuum end.
And I'll just show. So are you the very front part? So when you're looking at the picture, the long portion of the item facing the right-hand side. Correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So on 358, I'll just put my finger at the very top of the picture too, so maybe the jurors that can't see the screen as well too, I'll just walk the photo in front. We'll go old-fashioned as well as new technology. And then what other portions of that Hoover were swabbed based on the notes?
The outside of the hose extension, and that was item B2A. The liquid guard, the picture that we just looked at, was B2B, and the handle of the carpet cleaner was B2C.
And so I'm just going to show you up on the projector what the crime lab documented. 359, 360, and 362. And then we'll zoom in on 362. I don't know if you can see it from all the way back there, that little red spot down there at the bottom. Can you see that from all the way
Yes.
back? But I think easier, and if I can have my assistant follow me with this chair. We'll just, the table. We'll put exhibit 383 down, and I'll some gloves on here because the hose, I think, is not documented great in these. So it looks like we have this still filled with detergent. I'll just have you look at this. No swabbing was done on this, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I'll take this item out. Was there any swabbing done on this item?
There was not.
Okay. So I'll put that this side here. And there's some brushes in here. I think there's some hair in there, but no swabbing
Correct.
done on that. I'm just gonna put those right back in the bag. So first, take this bottom portion of this out. So can we tell, I don't know if there's something you want me to place it on. Can we tell where this was swabbed at all? Or just from her reports?
Let me take a look at it.
Because then it looks like this would be the bottom of that item, correct?
Yes, it does.
So, but that would be the item that was depicted in Exhibit 358 that had that brown staining on it that was swabbed, correct?
I don't have the photo of the exhibit with the exhibit number on it. Yes, that is the item shown in the photo at Exhibit 358. I can't totally tell from looking at the guard where it was swabbed. It looks like there's quite a bit of reddish brown staining on it, and it looks like there's maybe 7 or 8 millimeters wide, probably the width of the cotton on the end of a swab. It looks like there's a, like a stripe that's going down there. We would wet the swab first with distilled water and then use that to lift the stain off of the item. And so it looks like it runs right down. It would be on the other side, on the inside.
So right down and then inside of the portion of the cleaning under the lip, if you will, of the item, correct?
Yes, it's like triangular shaped, and so it looks like she probably stuck that into that crevice and then just wiped down the length of the opening.
Okay, so I'm going to put this back in the bag here. And then we'll take out the whole rest of this item. And show the hose here. So we've got, she would have swabbed this handle, correct?
Yes.
And can you still see anything on the handle?
It does actually look like there's still some reddish brown spot of staining there.
So I'm just going to walk this by. And then the hose, she would have swabbed inside of this hose, correct?
That, it says
Or help me under.
the outside of the hose extension.
Oh,
So I would
this-
have to actually look at her notes if you want me to verify.
I think that is
I-
unnecessary at this point, but she swabbed another component of this item, correct?
Yes.
And then based on that swabbing, what were the results?
So the swabbing from the outside of the hose extension and the swabbing of the stain on the inside of the liquid guard were single source female profiles that were consistent with each other, and they are also consistent with the profile from Crystal Rasch. Again, statistically very similar. The probability of randomly selecting that observed profile from a population of unrelated individuals is not more frequent than 1 in 1 quadrillion. Zachariah Rasch and Brenda Acosta Huffman were excluded from that profile. But the swabbing from the handle of the carpet cleaner was also a low-level partial mixture that was not suitable to make any comparisons to.
So not suitable for Crystal or any other person, correct?
Correct. Inclusion or exclusion.
And what are some of the reasons for that again?
There's just not enough genetic information present, or there's a mixture of DNA and it's not completely represented, and so we don't want to use it and make any inclusions or exclusions to it because it's just such limited amount of information.
So now, with respect to report number 6, dated October 22nd, 2024, any other DNA results represented, DNA or blood results represented in this report?
No, that was it.
And then again, page 4 and 5, the technical appendix, correct?
That's correct.
And then 391, report number 7, dated November 12th, 2024. We already spoke about, that's the toothbrush and STR analysis. So now, going to exhibit 392, we changed format of our reports, correct?
Yes, we did.
So now we have another DNA report number 6, correct?
Correct.
But this one is dated, December 16th, 2025, correct?
Correct.
And what items did we test here?
This was item 1, a saw, and item 2, a holster.
And so when testing the holster, starting with the saw, was testing performed on that item?
She visually examined it and then did some testing, presumptive testing for blood, but none was detected, so then no further analysis was conducted on the saw.
Okay. And so what about the holster?
The holster was visually examined, no stains were observed, so she used a swab to swab the inside of the holster and determined that there was human DNA and male DNA present.
So I'm going to show you first, before we talk about the results, that holster. Oh, I'm sorry. And this is exhibit number 133. And then is there a crime lab sticker on the outside of that?
Yes, there is. It's our barcode label, and it's case number R24-1767, item number 2.
And is there an indication that Kelly Gajewski would have tested that item?
Yes, her initials and date are also on the packaging.
And then if you can just sort of hold that up and demonstrate where she would have swabbed on that item.
So she used a swab to go on the inside of the holster where the gun would be placed on the inside. You know, you can't open it too much. It is kind of firm. So she would have just stuck the swab down in there, rubbed it around, and tried to collect as much of a sample as she could.
And is there something on the outside that's an indication that she would have swabbed that item?
Yes, she also used a zip tie on this to label it R24-1767, item number 2, with her initials and date that she examined it.
Okay, and you can put that back in the bag. I'll return it. And after swabbing that item, what were the results of the DNA analysis?
That ended up being a mixture of DNA of 3 people and at least 1 male individual. So again, assuming that this is a 3-person mixture and based on case information, it's reasonable to believe that Zachariah Rasch's DNA is present on this item, where she assumed that he is. So she set up the likelihood ratio as H1 being Zachariah Rasch plus 1 person of interest plus 1 unknown individual, and then H2 was Zachariah Rasch and 2 unknown unrelated individuals. So we looked at Crystal Rasch as a person of interest. So that would be, the likelihood ratio would be Zachariah Rasch plus Crystal Rasch plus 1 unknown individual over Zachariah Rasch and 2 unknown individuals. The likelihood ratio ended up being 8.65 times 10 to the 9th, showing very strong support for inclusion of Crystal Rasch. So that means it's at least 8 billion times more likely to observe this DNA profile being from Zachariah Rasch, Crystal Rasch, and 1 unknown individual versus being from Zachariah Rasch and 2 unknown individuals. We also compared the standard Bryson Rasch. He was excluded. It is not likely to, or it is not possible to make up this DNA mixture with his DNA profile. And also compared Brenda Acosta Huffman. She was also excluded. It is not possible to have this mixture of DNA with her DNA present.
And so the difference, so we saw some other inclusions that said, I think, quadrillion, right? 1 in quadrillion, and this is 1 in 8 billion times more likely. Why would we have those different statistical analysis?
So the other ones were single source profiles. There was a mixture of 2 individuals that we looked at, but this is a mixture of 3 individuals, and so there's more DNA types present in the mixture, and we have to take into account all the potential combinations of those types. So naturally the number is not, it can't possibly be as large.
And one other housekeeping item. I'm not going to make you open these up or anything, but I just want to show you exhibits.
Lunch is here.
Very quickly. I'm just going to move these in and then I will be concluded here. They're the swabs from the vehicle. Exhibit 395, 396, and 397. I'm going to show you exhibits 395, 396, and 397. Can you tell me what those are?
Yes, they are manila envelopes, each bearing the crime laboratory barcode label with case number R241767. 395 is item A3, 396 is item A1, and 397 is A2. They also have Kelly's date and initials on the items.
And those are the swabbings from the Mitsubishi, the blood stains, correct?
That's correct.
I would just move those into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Proceed.
I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Well, lunch, please, Your Honor.
Very good. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to take lunch. Obviously, the same instructions that I have given to you that you probably haunt you in your sleep. You cannot discuss this case until all of the evidence is received, and I've instructed you on the law. With that, have a nice lunch. We will break for 1 hour.
Your Honor.
Bring in the jury, please.
I did. I'm going to use it. I can move it here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, before we broke, I gave you some instructions. Is there any one of you who violated those instructions? No one has raised their hand. We'll continue with cross.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Before we begin talking about DNA, I just want to clarify, in this case, you're not testifying about cause of death or manner of death, correct?
That's correct.
You're mostly centered around identification.
Correct.
Okay. You've been a senior DNA analyst since 2005.
Yes.
So you're familiar with the published works to date on DNA.
Yes.
I see you've also had extensive trainings that keep you up to date with the science.
Yes.
Fair to say that as a science, it's always changing and there's always newer and better ways to do things.
That is true.
Okay. So when we talk about DNA transfer is simply the, I guess I'm going to kind of repeat myself, from DNA from one item or individual being transferred to another item or individual. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, when we talk about DNA transfer, we talk about the possibility of it happening, not probability of it happening. Is that fair to say?
Correct. Yes.
And what I mean by that is to say that if I touch my water bottle here and then I put it down, you couldn't come into court and say there's a 50% chance that my DNA is on there, right?
That's correct.
And that's just something that's established with the published works, is that when testifying or writing reports, you don't give a probability percentage, for example.
Not of transfer.
Not of transfer, right? Just that it's possible that it could happen.
Correct.
Let me know if this is true from the published work. This statement: it is not possible to use the amount of DNA recovered from a surface to assess whether the DNA was deposited there by a single touch or by regular use.
That's correct.
And why is that so?
We cannot determine when something was handled or how often it was handled.
Would you agree with this statement? It is not possible to use the amount of DNA recovered from an item of interest, to inform whether the DNA was deposited by direct contact or indirect transfer.
That's correct.
Okay, so I want to talk about transference of DNA. You're familiar with that term?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the ways that we can transfer DNA is, I'll use my water bottle example again, is I can touch the water bottle, put it down, and then you swab the water bottle and my DNA shows up in your analysis. Is that correct?
That's possible, yes.
And that's what we call a primary transfer.
Correct.
Now, there's also a secondary transfer.
Correct.
Now, a secondary transfer is that if you were to come and touch my water bottle, and then let's say touch the doorknob to the jury room, my DNA, it's possible, would show up on that doorknob.
Correct.
Okay, and that's what we call a secondary transfer.
Correct.
And then you can go kind of down the line with a tertiary transfer. I don't know what it is for the fourth, but fourth and fifth, so that if, say, Mr. Josty touches that door handle and then touches some other item like that table, my DNA could end up on that table.
It's possible.
Okay. And then again, you can't give percentages or probabilities of it happening. You just, the published work says it's whether it's possible or not.
Correct.
All right. So I want to talk about the degradation of DNA. You mentioned that in essence, it doesn't last forever.
Correct.
It can be destroyed by heat,
Yes.
by the biological factors,
Yes.
chemicals,
Yes.
the environment,
Yep.
and cleaning products.
Correct.
Now, in this case, assuming you analyzed, well, your lab analyzed the Taurus firearm and also the holster, correct?
Correct.
Okay, now assuming that the Taurus firearm and holster were found in a home on a shelf, you would agree with me that there is less environmental exposure for degradation.
On the firearm, environmental, that's correct, but the firearm is exposed to heat.
Okay, internally.
Yes.
Okay. But once that, let's say the firing of the firearm has passed, the storage of it on a shelf is a place where relatively the DNA is not going to be degraded by the environment.
Correct.
I mean, it will to some extent, but not as if it's left exposed to the elements, correct?
Correct.
All right. When it comes to cleaning an item that has DNA on it, if the surface of that item is a hard surface like this table, it's easier to clean the DNA off of, correct?
Yes.
Versus a porous surface,
Correct.
like let's say a couch cushion.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right, because even though, let's say a couch cushion for that example, you could clean the DNA off the top surface of it, but there still could be DNA inside the couch if it's absorbed into the cushion.
That's correct.
In this case, the Taurus firearm was an item of interest, correct?
Yes.
Was it designated an item of interest by law enforcement or by your laboratory?
It was submitted to the laboratory by the law enforcement agency, so they determined that.
Okay, so there was their decision that this is something that's important. Please conduct an analysis on it.
Correct.
All right. Now, in the report, it said that the DNA profile on the barrel of that Taurus opening, on the opening of it, and inside the barrel of the Taurus had a unknown low-level partial mixture DNA profile, correct?
Correct.
And just so that we're all clear, a partial mixture DNA profile with low levels means that the sample contains genetic material, correct?
Yes.
Okay, from at least 2 people, correct?
Correct.
But the amount is too small or degraded to yield a complete set of identifiable markers.
Correct.
In this case also, there was the holster that was analyzed by your laboratory, correct?
Yes.
And Crystal Rasch's DNA was included for the interior of that holster.
Correct.
That was the only place that was swabbed, correct?
Yes.
Okay, now the exterior of it wasn't swabbed.
Correct.
Now, Crystal Rasch's DNA could have been found in the interior of that holster if she had directly touched the interior of the holster.
Correct.
And that would be an example of primary DNA transfer,
Yes.
of her actually physically handling the item of interest.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Another way that her DNA could have been found on the interior of the holster is by secondary transfer, correct?
Yes.
Specifically, if she touched a firearm that was placed inside the holster, her DNA could be transferred to the interior of the holster.
Correct.
And that would be a reasonable interpretation of this DNA result, is that Crystal Rasch handled a firearm that was placed inside the holster.
Well, back to the percentages, I don't really determine what's reasonable or not. We just swab the item and get the DNA profile and make the comparisons.
Okay, so in using your language, it's possible.
It is possible.
And you can't rule out that that's how her DNA ended up on the inside of that holster, correct?
Correct.
Okay, you swabbed, well, I see you, it was your laboratory swabbed multiple items that were presented to you, correct?
Yes.
There were 3 different stains from the interior of the Mitsubishi Eclipse, correct?
Correct.
A toothbrush,
Yes.
a vape pen,
Yep.
a saw,
Yes.
a holster,
Yes.
the detergent bottle handle.
Correct.
There was the Hoover carpet cleaner as well.
Yes.
And that was broken up into 3 different items, 3 different swabs. There was the exterior of the hose extension,
Yes.
the inside of the liquid guard,
Yes.
and the handle from the carpet cleaner, correct?
Correct.
Now, from your understanding, and also the firearm, was it the barrel at the end of the barrel of the firearm, correct?
Correct.
Okay, was there anything else that was provided to you that was submitted for testing?
The standards of the individual and the DNA profile from the bones that were found.
Okay. Now, with all those items that were submitted, there was no swabbing of the trigger of the Taurus, correct?
Correct.
No swabbing of the trigger guard, correct?
Correct.
And there was no swabbing of the handle of the firearm as well.
Correct.
Okay, but the handle from the carpet cleaner was swabbed for testing,
Yes.
and the handle to the detergent bottle was submitted for testing.
Yes.
Okay, and that wasn't with the decision to not swab the handle of the firearm. It just wasn't even attempted. Is that correct?
Correct.
It's not as if you tried and then there was a low quality profile or something like that, right? It just wasn't even done.
Correct.
Yeah, whose decision was that?
I don't know if there was communications about that between Kelly, the analyst who actually examined the item, if she made that decision, or if it was based on case information with the detective who submitted it, or if it was the submitter who requested that.
Okay, if your laboratory was asked to swab that, the trigger guard or handle, that's something you could have done?
That's correct.
And that's something that has been done by your lab in the past?
Yes.
Now, there's a question on direct that said that it was perhaps due to standards that this attempt was not conducted. Is that correct?
I think she was referring to like submission guidelines and trying to streamline our process or limit the amount of samples that we process per case. It is a quite costly endeavor.
Right, so there, like, for some cases, your laboratory won't even conduct DNA analysis, let's say like misdemeanors, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, but if, and then low-level felonies, and then if it's a more serious offense, then you have more discretion, is that fair to say? Or more ability to do the testing?
Yes, our guidelines do allow more items to be submitted on the initial submission for the more severe cases.
Okay, it's not like a set number, like you can submit for this type of case, 5 items and that's it, right?
We do actually have guidelines that limit the number of items submitted.
Okay, but in this case, you could have done the trigger guard, the trigger, and the handle, correct?
We could have, yes.
Okay, nothing further, thank you.
Redirect.
If I may, sorry.
So can you just clarify on a homicide case, what are the submission guidelines, the number of items that would be initially accepted and tested by the lab?
I believe that it is 10 items.
And when it comes to firearms, is it fair to say that there are 2 options, that we can ask the crime lab to do the swabbing, or the law enforcement agency can do the swabbing, and then we can submit those swabs to the crime lab, correct?
Correct.
In cases where we believe that a firearm has been cleaned, is it possible that there's another approach that is taken to swabbing a firearm to get our best chance at getting DNA from that firearm? Like if we find items suggesting that the firearm has been cleaned since the incident, is it possible that there would be a discussion between the case agent and the crime lab analyst on what type of swabbing should take place on the firearm?
Yes.
And if an item is, so if a firearm is cleaned, what areas might you swab to get DNA, your greatest chance of getting DNA?
The locations that would be the least likely to be touched or handled.
And what are those locations, typically?
The inside of the barrel, or, if the trigger or any buttons or tabs are textured, those might be another place that we would target because they are more difficult. We just try to get into all the nooks and crannies and get what we can.
And in this case, this was an instance where we left the swabbing to the crime lab, correct?
Yes.
So the Dodge County Sheriff's Office relied on the expertise of the crime lab for the best chance of getting DNA off of the firearm, correct?
Correct.
And the firearm was tested for blood first, correct?
I don't know if it was tested first or simultaneously, if she took the swab of the end of the muzzle and inside the barrel and then tested that swab. I believe that's what she did. So she just took one swab. I even think there was no reddish brown staining noted, but she tested it with our screening blood test anyway, and it was negative, and then took the remainder of that swab forward for DNA.
I have nothing further, thank you.
Nothing further.
Cross.
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, you can step down. Counsel, if you want to, I don't know if you want to leave all of these exhibits and things up here for your next witness. Thank you.
And the state will no longer need this witness, defense may this witness be excused.
Yes, of course. Thank you.